So we have reconvened virtually with all members present from their homes, and also in our feed, Clerk Liz Osborne, Attorney Matt Giacobbe, Administrator Raymond Cody, and off in the side room, and will be joining us shortly, CFO Jim Burnett, and at the controls, Michael Pelessier. And hopefully everyone enjoyed the stepping outside and to recognize our first responders. And bagpipes, if you tuned in right at the beginning of the meeting, the bagpipes were brought to you by Ken O'Brien, so our the Director of Public Works. So we thank Ken for coming out tonight to do the bagpipes in honor of our first responders. And part of our new routine now is as we come out of the 7 p.m. clap out, our council members and myself are going to be recognizing unsung heroes. These are the people that are stepping forward in our time of need and would be doing it just because of, not because of the recognition, certainly just because of the help. And tonight, my unsung hero is Marlene Dolan, our public health nurse for the Madison Health Department. Marlene has been doing an incredible job during the pandemic. She is our own personal version of Dr. Fauci, calm and knows the answers. She is providing information and to schools, long-term healthcare facilities, of course, to borough operations. She conducts research on each reported case, and through all this, she has maintained her ever calm demeanor. And to add to the recognition, I'm proud to announce that Marlene Dolan has been selected as the Employee of the Month for April for her tremendous dedication and commitment, as well as her tireless efforts in handling the multitude of issues associated with COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Thank you, Marlene. And Council President Vitale, who is your hero?
My hero is Michael Pelessier. Is he there?
He is there.
He is here. Okay. So Michael Pelessier is the master of the Zoom meetings. He became the expert overnight in Zoom teleconferencing, which has allowed us to conduct council meetings with public input so that we can continue to conduct our borough business. Right now, he's making sure that this meeting is being viewed properly, as well as coordinating the questions from the public as they enter into this meeting. Michael also coordinates all the outreach to the working groups just recently formed by the mayor regarding senior issues and mental health initiative. And he produces all the public updates and video messages that Mayor Conley releases twice a week. It's hard to say exactly what Michael does in a day. It usually starts off with the call at 9 a.m. with the mayor and the administrator, and then off to his computer to put together the press releases and updates on the RoseNet website and Facebook. In between, he made designing the forms, of some of which we're going to be speaking about tonight, regarding the rebates for residents and businesses. One of his strengths is keeping a timely record of questions and statistics on all the projects going on right now with this epidemic, which are so important so that the council can see what is needed in order to move forward. We're also proud to announce that Michael has been requested by the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association to host a webinar for their 285 member towns this Wednesday on how to use Zoom to conduct public businesses. So congratulations on that. Michael, he's creative, he's energetic, and willing to do whatever is needed, and worked long hours over the past weeks with the mayor and the administration. So we say thank you, Michael, for all your hard work, and let him know that we really appreciate all that he does. Thank you, Mayor.
And Astrid.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I'd like to give a shout out to our grocery workers. Every day, they are in the front line exposed to COVID-19. Their job is important, helping to keep our nation fed and healthy. They are very patient. They're very kind and always ready with a smile. So I would really like to thank them for their service in this time. I also want to give a shout out to our first responders. Chief Datchison of the Police Department, Chief DeRosa of the Fire Department have implemented policies to maintain the safety of their staff as well as the residents of Madison. I really appreciate the flexibility and creativity these departments have shown to maintain staff levels and to continue to provide service to our community. So I want to give a big thank you to our police and fire department tonight.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
And Maureen.
So I'm shouting out mental health professionals right now in all this uncertainty and financial crisis. There's been a real need for mental health professionals to work with families, children, to bring about some stabilization and assistance. So that's who I'm shouting out.
Thank you. And John.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I am pleased, really pleased to recognize Tom Harrell-Lamputis for his outstanding contributions to Madison. He manages May Day at the library for Rotary and always provides in-kind contributions to organizations throughout the borough. Recently, the Madison Police Department, Fire Department, and MVAC needed additional supplies of personal protective equipment to maintain their safety, transporting patients for medical care. Supplies were running low, and despite multiple orders being placed, we were on back order with deliveries scheduled for months from now. Tom stepped into the picture and used his worldwide distribution connections as an importer-exporter to secure 2 cases of Tyvek disposable gowns and 8 cases of protective face shields. He is currently helping us secure N95 masks. He provided all the equipment at a discount and personally hand-delivered the order to avoid personnel having to leave their post. He provided similar support to the Madison Fire Department, Morristown Fire Department, at the request of Chief DeRosa. Many thanks to Tom for his dedication and perseverance. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Deb.
Can you hear me? Because I'm getting a weird error. Okay. My shout out tonight is twofold. The first is to John LaPierre at the Board of Education, who actually met with myself and Michael to get this Zoom going, and then Michael took it from there, but he let them know how they had made it work for the Board of Ed. It was a starting point on one meeting.
You're breaking up there, Deb.
That's what I was afraid of.
Now you're muted.
I'm going to switch to phone audio. You want to switch to Rachel and I'll come back in?
Sounds good. Rachel.
Okay, tonight I'd like to recognize and commend Madison Public School nurses Colette Kreskus, Diane Fastigi, Jackie Young, and Jerry Moran, who have volunteered to assist Marlene Dolan, Madison's public health nursing supervisor. Our school nurses are volunteering with the Madison Health Department to perform the research and phone calls required for contact tracing. Through the process, which is very important to maintaining public health, individuals considered to be close contacts with people who are confirmed to have COVID-19 are contacted, advised, and asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. Contact tracing is an essential part of keeping Madison residents well in the public health battle against the virus. And we are deeply grateful to our school nurses for volunteering for this critical task with Madison Health Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Deb, are you connected?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I hopefully through my phone. So my shout out, it was to, ironically, John LaPierre at the Board of Ed, who let us know what kinks and what worked for them. They had had their first meeting before ours did. So they met with me and Michael, got him started, and then he was able to get it going so we could meet. And the second meeting, the second shout out is for all of the teachers, the guidance counselors, the child study team members, the secretaries, the custodians, the principals, everybody in the schools that have gone above and beyond to make it as normal as possible for our students who are trying to continue education through e-learning, emails and Zoom and Google Meets and phone calls and dealing with all of the special education students and their shout outs. So, and their issues. So shout out to all of them as well. Thank you.
Thank you for those great shout outs. And as I mentioned, there's heroes out there, and we will continue to recognize all our heroes as they help us get through this. So in honor of our heroes and in honor of our country, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we go on to our minutes for approval, I do want to have a moment of silence for 3 longtime Madison residents that we lost in the past weeks. Fred Passarella died at the age of 84 on March 3rd. Born in Morristown, resided in Chatham prior to moving to Madison 60 years ago. Attended Chatham High School, but most better known for the fact that he was the owner of Charles the Florist, where he worked there for 50 years until his retirement in 1999. He was known in Madison always warm-heartedly, and the surrounding communities knew him as Freddie or Uncle Fred. He proudly served our country in the Army as a specialist in the 546th Medical Company stationed in Korea. He was a member of the Madison Fire Department and Morris County Juvenile Conference Committee, Madison Lions and Elks Club, Madison Chamber of Commerce, and American Legion Post 43. Fred is survived by his son, Fred Jr., and 2 grandchildren. And he is survived by his sister, Florence DeMarzo. So our thoughts are with Fred and his family at this time. Also, Lou Mantone, lifelong Madison resident, died on April 2nd at age of 90. Born in Morristown in 1929 to the late Samuel and Amelia Mantone, raised in Madison with a family of 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. After graduating Madison High School, Lou enlisted in the Army, served his country from 1948 to 53, attained a rank of sergeant. After the service, he returned to his hometown, joined his father and brothers in business at their family-owned St. Clair service station on Main Street in Madison. Lou met the love of his life, Rita. After his service in the Army, they settled in Madison after they were married and raised their family. Over the years, Lou and his brother Jiggs operated several service stations in Madison, among them one located at 22 Prospect and another at 14 Kings Road. The brothers had a well-known reputation for their unbelievable and honest customer service. Lou owned and operated his station, Lou's Amico, on Kings Road from 1965 to the late 80s. And upon his retirement, he began a second career, court security at Morris County Courthouse in Morristown. And just, Lou died on April 2nd, and his wife Rita had died on March 22nd. She was 88. They were married on September 24th, 1950, falling just shy of 70 years of marriage. She had a career as a hairdresser at several area beauty salons and a telephone operator with the Bell Company. And Lou and Rita are survived by one daughter, Linda, and one grandchild, and a host of nieces, nephews, and other relatives and friends. And then Carmella Mel Del Judas, lifelong resident of Madison, died on April 10th at the age of 90. Mel was born in Madison, February 8th, 1930. She was raised in Madison, also of 6 children, graduated from Madison High School, attended College of St. Elizabeth's, and had a long career at Bell Labs as a data entry supervisor. She was a lifelong and faithful communicant of St. Vincent Martyr Church, proud and active member of the Madison community throughout her entire life, volunteering for decades on the Madison Thanksgiving Parade Committee, and generations of children will fondly remember her as Mrs. Claus. She played the part for 25 years in the parade. So let us take a moment to remember Fred Passarella, Lou and Rita Mantone, and Carmella Del Judas. Thank you. All right, can I have a motion for the executive minutes of March 9th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
This has already been discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Let the record note that all said aye. And a motion for the regular minutes of March 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And let the record reflect that all said aye. Welcome all to our second virtual council meeting. First and foremost, happy birthday, Liz Osborne. Can't think of a better spot for you to spend your birthday than virtually with us. So happy birthday, and hopefully there's a cake waiting for you in the next room that you can blow out the candles shortly. Obviously this is a special time of year as we families all over town celebrated Easter and Passover, and I hope everyone was able to celebrate in their own small way. And on Saturday, we had a very special visit from the Easter Bunny, and Austria will be telling us more about that shortly. I want to thank all of you who have been respecting the social distancing guidelines and who are now wearing masks or face covering while shopping. Now we don't have our face covers on now because we are socially distanced or in our own spaces, but when we're out in public, we are all doing the best for everyone involved. And just a reminder, when you are out there getting fresh air, which is so important, whether it's in your neighborhood or on the paths around your all the farms, please respect social distancing. If the area is busy, find another spot. Somewhat related to Maureen's shout out, I've led 2 Zoom meetings on mental health, and recognizing this is a very stressful time, and we are so much focused on our physical health, we can easily lose track of our mental health well-being. So, and that of all those around us. So we'll be rolling out programs for all in Madison, and we're working with both Chatham Township and Chatham Borough in a joint effort to provide support for our mental health in this very difficult time. I now have a proclamation to present virtually. Jamie Conroy should be out there, and do we have her ready to? We're getting her connected here. This is our first virtual, did a proclamation last meeting, but this is the first one where I actually have the recipient online. So we're trying to bring her up. Okay, we're going to. All right, so we're not going to get the visual of her, but she is with
I'm
us.
here.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie, for taking the time and for all you do.
There we go.
Okay, now you should be able to start your video. You were there for
Yep.
a second. There we go. Okay.
There
excellent.
we go. Hello.
Welcome.
Thank
So-
you for having me. Thank you so much.
So here is a proclamation for Autism Awareness Month, April 2020. Whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skills of those affected by it. And whereas as more health professionals become more proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And whereas while there's no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive early and intensive treatment throughout their lives, they can significantly lead improved lives. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety and to support the family's resilience as they manage the psychological and financial burdens of autism can present. And whereas Autism New Jersey is spearheading an awareness effort in order to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism and its effects. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Conley, the mayor of the Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, do hereby proclaim April 2020 as Autism Awareness Month and urge all residents to become better educated about autism to create a better community for individuals with autism. And here I'm going to figuratively pass this proclamation over to Jamie. And there, look at that, and there it appears. So
Look at that. Look at that. Thank you so much. I'm sure I speak for all of the families in town who are touched by autism to say thank you for this recognition and this proclamation, both by the Borough Council and also by Autism New Jersey. It certainly means a lot. And here's hoping that next April, we can light it up blue all through town for autism awareness when we're all done social distancing and able to shine the light on autism.
thank you very much, and thank you for
Thank
everything you do. Yep. Take care. And now we'll move on to reports from our committee. So Finance and Borough Clerk, Council President Vitale.
Unmute myself. Okay. There's been a significant number of actions taken by the federal, state, county, and local level that are impacting the finance department and the residents of Madison. I'd like to report on just a few of those issues. First, all the staff in the finance department has been doing a great job during these difficult times. They're working remotely on alternating weeks, and it is very difficult to do their jobs when they are out of the office. So thank you to all of them for what they're doing. Estimated third quarter tax bills, the state has announced a proposed extension of the fiscal year to September 30th. This means that certification of state aid to municipalities will be delayed, which will also delay finalizing all municipal tax rates. The borough will need to issue estimated tax bills in order to ensure timely cash flow. Estimated third quarter bills must be sent out on or before June 30th. Before doing so, the governing body must adopt a resolution directing the tax collector to prepare and deliver estimated tax bills. That resolution will be on the April 27th agenda. The Homestead Rebate is a program where the state of New Jersey agrees to directly pay a portion of property taxes for income eligible Madison residents. An application is mailed out to residents in the fall. In March, the state normally sends the borough a list of credits that that they grant it, and the borough in turn sends out corrected second quarter tax bills. That program has been put on hold while the state manages the COVID-19 crisis. We will notify the residents when we hear more about the state and that particular program. Senior Freeze Program reimburses eligible senior citizens and disabled persons for property tax increases on their principal residence. The application comes out in February and is due to the state by November 2nd. The Madison Borough tax collector must fill out a portion of the application. Residents pay their full property tax bill, but they will receive a check directly from the state of New Jersey for all the property tax increases above the base year. The payments for this year have been temporarily put on hold while the state again manages a COVID-19 crisis. Residents are still encouraged to fill out the forms. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to unmute myself. Public Safety, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight from the fire department has had an increase in culinary mishaps, in parentheses, burnt food calls over the past few weeks. We ask residents to practice safe cooking skills when cooking or baking at home. The fire department would like to thank the public for their continued support and kind gestures over the past few weeks. Firefighters have greatly appreciated the notes, the disinfectants, the masks, the food, the baked goods that have been dropped off at the public safety complex. And Chief DeRosa would also like to give a big thank you to Madison resident Tom Harlan Putis, who was able to locate and supply Madison first responders with desperately needed PPE in the form of isolation gowns and face shields. And we had a surprise this weekend. The Easter Bunny came to town Saturday. And then with the help of our fire department and police departments, the Easter Bunny traveled every street in Madison, as well as Morristown Memorial Hospital's children's section in our historic fire truck, Geraldine. Everybody seemed to practice social distancing, which was great. And it was really, really special on such a glorious day to have the Easter Bunny waving the streets of Madison. And from the police department reminds people and children, everybody must practice social distancing. This is not the time to give that up. It's the time to continue to do that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Public Works and Engineering, Ms. Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. From engineering, the roads, the Grenwild Road reconstruction was NJ.MA19 was awarded to contracting on the 30th in the amount of $490,650. The Burnett Road reconstruction plans have been advertised to be received on May 21st. Other 2020 road reconstruction awards are pending. The contract award to Chifano Construction for milling and overlay painting was made on February 10th in the amount of $620,000. The first phase of paving will be initiated in Madison the week of April 20th and should be complete prior to the end of the month. Because of the early school and business closures statewide, the school routes and computer parking lots are being prioritized. April paving will include Cedar, DeHart, Walnut, the Prospect parking, and either Woodland or Kings Road Lot 3. And then a second phase of paving is planned for the balance of roads in the mill and overlay program prior to the end of summer. From the water department, we are going to be voting on this later on tonight, the Highland Avenue water main replacement bids, and the award, which the lowest responsible bidder has been recommended. The Dodge Field Playground building bid was opened and was awarded the 30th in the amount of $370,000. And the recycling center paving has completed on the new Madison Recycling Center, which will probably be open to the public by the end of the month. And then from DPW, they continue to maintain the fleet and maintain our infrastructure. And shout out to DPW. Our lights keep going on. We are able to draw water from our taps, And when we flush our toilets, they flush. So thank you to DPW for taking care of us in this this time. That's all, Mayor.
Community Affairs, Mr. Hoover, I gotta get used to that space bar.
Thank you, Mayor. The Senior Shopping Network is working really, really well, thanks to Magda and Paula and Maria. Right now, we have 121 volunteers, and over a 2-week period, there were 100 shopping trips made for the benefit of seniors. There is a potential, because we have so many volunteers, and there will be more volunteers from Chatham, that we may expand it into Chatham, which would be really helpful to them as well. From the Director of Business Development, Downtown Development Commission, the Madison, New Jersey Small Business Recovery Grant Program has been created by the Madison Main Street Foundation, Downtown Development Commission, with the support of the Madison Area Chamber of Commerce, to mitigate severe economic damage caused by the global COVID-19 pandemic to our beloved local business community. A Gofundme campaign titled Help the Madison, New Jersey Business Community Recover is now live. The goal is to raise $200,000. The Madison Main Street Foundation, a registered 501c3, will match the first $50,000 on a one-to-one basis. We really, really need your support to reach the goal. Without a vibrant business community downtown, we're really in deep trouble. So we really need to help our small businesses. For those who would prefer to send a check, here are the instructions. Please send the check to the Madison Main Street Foundation and mail it to the Madison Main Street Foundation, Hartley Dodge Memorial, 50 Kings Road, New Jersey, Madison, New Jersey, 07940. The DDC and the Chamber, through the I Love Madison, New Jersey social network media accounts and email blasts, are launching a contest that will be called Rose City Bingo. Keep your eyes open, it's going to be exciting. Sign up for the Madison Market newsletter to stay connected with our local businesses during the crisis. There is a sign up link on the I Love Madison, New Jersey Facebook. In addition, look for Saving Small Business Saturdays posts. May Day in Madison, originally scheduled for Saturday, May 2nd, has been postponed. A new date will be determined. But donations are still being requested to help defray the cost of flower baskets, which will be hung as usual downtown. The t-shirt art contest is now April 30th. The Madison Farmers Market start date has been revised and is now scheduled to open on Thursday, June 11th, if things continue to progress positively. Vendors were notified last week. It will run through November 19th. The market is relocating to the east end, Greenwood Avenue of Dodge Field. The hours will remain the same from 2 to 7. There is a virtual Zoom focus meeting for businesses scheduled for Wednesday, April 15th at 10 a.m. More information will become available. Chamber Board will be meeting virtually every 2 weeks to discuss ways to help businesses after they are able to reopen, as well as how to increase revenue for the organizations coming into their new fiscal year. Madison Community Arts Center. The Arts Center closed on March 15th, obviously. All events and rentals have either been postponed, rescheduled, or canceled. Once this situation is lifted, discussions will continue on the Madison Junior School concert series and all arts and events planned throughout 2020. A new web page has been published on MACA website entitled Arts for Madison. Tab is featured Madison-based arts, musicians, poets, etc., with links to their artwork, their music, and poetry. There is also a donate button to benefit Madison small businesses, www.madisonartsnewjersey.org, nj.org. Madison Arts and Culture annual fundraiser will be on Saturday, September 19th. Date depending, of course, on the situation is lifted with sufficient time to prepare. MACA also joined 2 support groups during the closure. TechSoup, 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 a discount site for software and hardware devoted to not-for-profit organizations, and Grant Station, a resource for funding sources. Museum of Early Trades and Crafts. The museum has a new project which they would love to have the town participate in. It's called Share Your Story. and is intended to connect with the community during this COVID-19 crisis. History museums have an obligation to document not just the past, but the present. The COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented event in all our lives, and it is imperative that we record the impact on our communities and how our citizens respond. All the information to participate is on the website, metc.org/share-your-story. We hope many in the community will take this opportunity to be part of history and share their stories as a way to document these unusual circumstances in our history. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, John. And health, Ms. Cohen.
All right, bear with me, it's a long one. Let's start off with some good news. While COVID-19 infections statewide continue to grow by the thousands daily, there are early indications that the doubling time of infections in New Jersey is increasing, including Morris County. This is good news as it suggests the aggressive social distancing practices are beginning to show signs of working, and we are slowing the spread of COVID-19. However, we have likely not yet reached the peak of the curve, and we can't be certain if this early good news will continue in the coming days. We each must continue to do our part to help the slowing and flattening of the curve. The health department offices at Walnut Street remain open from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday to provide both general information and answer any COVID-19 questions from our residents and businesses. All team members continue to work collectively to support our community and each other during this public health emergency. A special thank you to the Madison Public Schools. As we've discussed, their nurses have been helping out in the health department, and a thank you to Mark Shores, the superintendent of schools, for assisting in arranging this support. The flow of information remains critical during this trying time. Our health officer, Mike Fitzpatrick, continues to provide daily informational updates, including information around positive test results, COVID-19 related deaths, and any updated guidance from federal, state, and county leaders. He also continues to host a daily conference call open to leadership of all communities who partner with the Bloomfield Health Department. Late last week, Mike secured testing supplies to offer limited testing to police, fire, EMS, and other frontline borough employees who may have been exposed to COVID-19. Details are being finalized on who will be able to request a test and qualify for testing, but the availability of these tests will allow the health department to obtain results quickly for those frontline workers. We hope this program will be able to provide peace of mind and possibly shorten quarantine times of our critical response staff. More information will be coming. Our public health nursing staff, Marlene Dolan and Jean Nash, continue their work investigating and contact tracing each new reported case of COVID-19 tracked in the Communicable Diseases Reporting and Surveillance System. In addition to standard contact tracing, Marlene also speaks daily to those who run long-term care facilities in Madison and Chatham Township. These facilities caring for the most vulnerable to COVID-19 submit line lists, a list that updates the current health status of both residents and staff to both the state and local health departments daily. This allows our own health department and our partners at the state to provide the best possible support for our long-term care facilities. Changing gears for a moment, a note about the information we share each day with the public. We are currently reporting positive test results and known COVID-19 related deaths. Some have asked why the health department isn't reporting recoveries. In short, the availability and consistency of this data in the CBRFS is a challenge. This is largely due to the prioritization of testing for those who are currently exhibiting symptoms rather than retesting previously ill patients to confirm a negative. Without lab data to close the loop, reporting recoveries in a systematic way isn't yet practical. For further information, visit the COVID-19 updates on Rosenet. Over the last few days, new executive orders went into effect requiring the public to wear face coverings while shopping at an essential business such as a grocery store, pharmacy, post office, etc., while picking up takeout at a restaurant and while riding New Jersey Transit. These face coverings can and should be non-medical grade masks or cloth coverings made at home from a bandana, t-shirt, pillowcase, etc. The purpose of these coverings is to contain your respiratory droplets to help protect others, not necessarily to protect you. While it is important for each of us to comply with this executive order, please do not use medical grade masks that would otherwise be used by first responders and healthcare workers. I know this has been somewhat a lengthy report, and I'm going to close out with a few regular reminders. Morris County continues to operate a public COVID-19 testing site, which is available to Madison residents free of charge. The site is at the County College of Morris in Randolph. In order to be tested at the site, you must have a testing prescription from your healthcare provider, be a Morris County resident, and make an appointment for your testing at health.morriscountynj.gov/COVID testing. Other private healthcare providers in our area, such as Summit Medical Group and Atlantic Health, also have testing available. Please visit their websites for details, availability, and restrictions, or consult with your own healthcare provider. Finally, some important reminders from the health department that echo what we've heard time and time again while this public health emergency has been impacting our lives. Remain at home whenever you can. When you do go out for essential needs, practice social distancing, keeping at least 6 feet from people outside your household as much as practical. When inside essential businesses, wear a face covering. Wash your hands often with soap and water. When soap isn't available, use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Refrain from touching your face. If you feel unwell, stay home. Further isolate yourself from other members of your household and contact your doctor. In the event of a true medical emergency only, please contact 911. While you are physically distant from your friends and extended family, stay connected and check on those around you via phone, video chat, or text message. This is especially true for those you know living alone or who may be elderly. Continue to enjoy the outdoors and fresh air when you can. Remember that all state and county parks and trails are now closed by order of the governor. Madison parks remain open for passive recreation, but social distancing remains important. While walking, jogging, or biking in your neighborhood, follow the rules of the road, but also maintain social distancing. And finally, parents, please continue to set a good example for our younger generation on social distancing and explain to your children the importance of it when they might be otherwise out of the home. Thank you.
Thank you for all that important information there. Utilities, Ms. Ehrlich.
Thank you, Mayor. The electric department is currently divided into 2 crews operating with reduced staffing on alternate schedule to maintain social distancing protocol. On foul weather days like today, it's worth noting that the remote crew is available for additional support during an emergency. The electric department installed an additional 50 kVA or kilovolt amp transformer on Lathrop Avenue to address increased load demand based on new construction there. And the electric department disconnected power from the Dodge Field Playground bathroom facility to prepare for demolition in anticipation of the construction of the new facility that Councilwoman Byrne mentioned. Despite reduced staffing, the department continues to maintain the substations daily, install service to new construction, and respond to residents' calls and concerns. As part of that ongoing maintenance, the department has cleaned and inspected portions of our underground electrical infrastructure and is continuing to organize and stock the new Butler building, which was constructed last year for indoor storage of electrical infrastructure components. At this time, the water department is also working in split shifts. Despite the slowdown in construction and other private sector activity, the department is still getting calls for routine shutoffs, meter changes, and utility location calls. The water department notes that they are working hard with limited staffing to meet the needs of our water customers and keep the everyday maintenance and operation of the system to ensure safe drinking water for Madison residents and businesses. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And now on to communications and petitions.
Yes, Mayor. The Mayor and Council received an email dated April the 13th from Pat Rowe of Pine Avenue regarding the budget. Just one.
Okay. Thank you. Just getting my, all right. We are now on to our first of 2 invitations for discussion from the public. This is limited to items on our agenda discussion and also our resolutions. If you want to comment on other topics, you have to wait until the second one, which will happen after the ordinance hearings. The 2 items on our agenda discussion that you could comment on, which are the COVID-19 recovery support. I will give more detail on that in just a second, as I mentioned, the 2 resolutions. Or you can comment on the Kings Road, Prospect Street, and Maple Avenue commuter lot parking mill and overlay. And these are the resolutions that will be either on the consent or moved separately. Resolution 113 is awarding contract to Joe Med Contracting for an amount of $140,900 for the Highland Avenue water main replacement funded through Ordinance 18/2018. Ordinance 114 is appointment of Jacqueline Cardini to part-time position of acting tax assessor for the Borough of Madison. This is for a annual salary of $26,000 with an increase of $3,000 coming from the operations budget. Resolution 115 is appointing Heather McCulloch to the position of summer intern in the police department at rate of $12 an hour. Resolution 116 is appointing or approving a Jacob Henry Perkins Trust disbursement for support of a family in the amount of $5,000. Resolution 117 is permitting a self-examination of our budget resolution this year. All right. Second here. Resolution 118 is authorizing borough cell phones and tablets through New Jersey cooperative pricing system. This is not to exceed $40,000 and is coming out of the operating budget. Resolution 119 is professional services through Richard Wolowitz, arborist, at rate of $82 per hour, funded through the shade tree budget. Resolution 120 is enabling resolution for be a member of the Green Acres program so we can receive $500,000 in funding to support the MRC. Resolution 121 is amending Resolution 57, expand electric utility rebate program for assistance for furloughed or terminated residents, and you'll be hearing more about that shortly. That's one of the agenda discussions. Resolution 122 is a targeted rebate program for certain businesses directly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and executive orders. And Resolution 123, authorizing participation in Morris County Community Development Block Grant Program so we can receive funding, federal funding through the county. Resolution 124 is amending affordable housing development fees in response to COVID pandemic emergency. This is related to issue with tax assessment so that the initial fees will be $3,000 for a residential building until the emergency is ended and then final fees settled. So you may comment on any of those resolutions or the response support or the mill and overlay program for the commuter lot. So if you're in the public and wish to comment, please raise your hand at this point or hit *9 if you're on the phone. Our Michael will recognize you. Please state your name, your address solely, and announce the resolution or the topic you're addressing. Again, it has to be limited to the ones I just went through. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we will give you a 1 minute grace period and ask you to stop at 4. Anyone wishing to comment? Okay, seeing none, we close this part of the meeting. And we move on to agenda discussions, the COVID-19 recovery support. We're going to bring up our screen. And so if you remember from the last meeting, I had requested, I laid out some opportunities for a toolkit to support our residents and businesses, and then asked as Chair of Finance, Carmella Vitale, and Chair of Utilities, Rachel Ehrlich, to work with me and administration to come up with a program. And so this is what we have put together, and we'll start with Carmella.
Economic plan that was presented at our last council meeting. So we are giving a $200 credit on your electric bill. Administration will work with the borough attorney on specific guidelines, and they'll be coming out like relatively soon. The application criteria includes you must be a full-time resident of Madison. The resident must have been terminated or furloughed due to the COVID-19 global health pandemic. Madison Electric Utility account must be in their name or the name of their spouse, and applications must be filed no later than June 30th, 2020. This is something that the mayor and the council were very concerned about because we understand that being terminated or furloughed is going to create a problem. So you will have that $200 credit on your electric bill. As a reminder, the rebate program that we have always had in effect for the seniors and for income eligible is still in effect. This has nothing to do with that particular rebate. That's still in effect. Those applications have been sent out already, and we've been getting them in. I think that we have about 200 applications in so far, but just to make sure that particular rebate is in effect. If there's a family of 4, you have to make $70,000 or under. 2 people at $60,000 or under. 1 person is $40,000 or under. And it's based on your 2019 income or your Social Security, or whatever we're going to be able to get at this point. So remember that that rebate is not part of this. This particular resident program is to be helping the residents who have been terminated or furloughed. So, I thank the mayor and the administration for their really great work on helping the residents of Madison. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next slide, Rachel.
Okay. So similar to the program offered to residents who have been recently terminated or furloughed from their employment, Madison will be offering a program to our Madison businesses as part of this larger economic plan that was presented and discussed at the last council meeting. In this case, the program offers up to $400 credit on the electric bill. And as in the case of the resident program, administration will work with the borough attorney on the specific guidelines. So this program is specifically geared towards businesses located in Madison within the following zoning districts as shown in our zoning map. Central Business District 1 or 2, the CC or the Gateway Zoning District. So, in layman's terms, this applies to businesses located along Main Street, all the way from Tony Boy sandwiches to the nail salon on Main Street by division. So this is our downtown business district. And the way this program will work is that the credit on the electric bill of up to $400 will be available to either non-essential businesses that were forced to close due to the governor's executive order, or which were able to remain open as an essential business but suffered significant economic hardship due to the decline in business due to the global health pandemic. So this is specifically focused on retail businesses that have a walk-in clientele. The idea is that we want to offer relief to our downtown businesses, the businesses that keep our downtown vibrant and lively. And as noted here, applications must be filed no later than June 30th of this year.
Thank you,
I
Rachel.
think next, go ahead.
Jim's going to go over the finances behind this.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. For financial considerations, initially there'll be up to $300,000 in total, which will be split between both programs. Similar to the other programs or rate changes, this is not part of the specific state budget process. It was discussed with council on March 30th, and we did represent the impact that this program could have on surplus or free balance. Right now, there's a lot of different items that are going to impact the electric utility performance. So the idea of having the applications come in until June 30th and then reporting back to council about the number of applications and also what's happening with the electric utility in terms of revenues. We'll be able to do that at the end of June, the beginning of July, report to council before we actually issue the credits. Credits would be applied to the July or August 2020 electric bills. And as discussed, this is part of a larger economic plan. And one other item that I'd like to mention is that the letters went out on Friday to all property owners saying that their interest on property taxes starting on April 9th until the end of July will be 0%. So if people have problems making their property tax payments, they'll still be considered late, but they will not incur any additional interest charges or penalty charges. That's for property tax bills up to $10,000. Just wanted to add that onto it. So in July, we'll be reporting to council about our tax collection rate, amongst other things, but we'll also be talking about the number of applicants that we received for both of these programs.
Thank you very much, Jim. And so as noted, the process would be the applications come in. We look at the ability to fund it based on the guidelines of approximately $300,000. We could be coming back to the council asking for more funding, or it could be funding at a lower rate than the full 200 or 400 respectively, depending on the program. But it's, as I said 2 weeks ago, this is something that virtually no other town can do. You know, one, to own an electric utility gives us the one ability to do it. And number two is the fact that we're in a fiscally well-managed town, that we have this cushion to be able to provide a level of support for residents that have been directly affected, and also businesses. And this is the all of the downtown, not just central business district. Questions and comments? Rachel?
I don't know if we glossed over this, but I don't think we mentioned when the applications will be sent out.
Yeah, I don't think we did capture it, but one of the reasons we have that June 30th line, you know, the utility bills go out in a rotation. And so in order to get a full complement of utility bills going out, it'll be start the cycle coming up as soon as this is approved, and then it'll take almost a month to get all the bills out, and then we'll still have plenty of time to apply.
I think we also want to stress that applications should not be made in person, but to the extent possible, the applications should be returned via mail or completed online.
Thank you. Very important. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay, what we're going to do, since this is such an important piece and we don't want to bury it in the consent, is move and approve these right now. So Resolution 121, 2020, Carmella, if you can make a motion and read it by title.
Sure. Mayor, I'll move Resolution 121-2020, resolution of the Borough of Madison amending Resolution 57, 2020 to expand the electric utility rebate program for 2020 to provide assistance to individuals furloughed or terminated as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'll second it.
Any council discussion? There was some final edits, and also so the public knows that we will create a virtual bulletin board before the next meeting, so you can read these resolutions. But there was an amendment or change made to this before it was Ostry.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure that we have included the change, that we've eliminated the words after COVID-19 pandemic, regardless of income, that's struck.
Yes, that is removed.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mrs. Vitale,
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen. I lost Ms. Cohen.
Okay, she had to step off, so please note that Deb Cohen is no longer in the meeting. We'll
Yes.
note her return.
And Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
All right, can I have a motion for Resolution 122 read by title? Carmella or Rachel?
Are you gonna do that one?
Rachel, you want it? You can.
Hold on. Mayor, I move Resolution 122-2020, resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing the electric utility rebate program for Madison businesses due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
and Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for providing this great support for our residents and businesses. Our next item is the Kings Road, basically commuter lots, and just for discussion, so we're all clear, the Kings Road lot is the one between Public Safety and Stuart Morris. The Prospect Street lot is the one right in front of the Ambulance Corps building, and the Maple Avenue lot is the one accessible, two small sections that are accessible off Maple Avenue, one for employees and some are available for commuters, and also a couple slots reserved for 10 Maple Avenue. This is put on here. We already had budgeted to do the Prospect Street lot in the capital budget. The Maple Avenue and Kings Road lots would be due in the near future anyway, and right now the lots are empty or virtually empty, and we want to expedite these by shifting some of the resources from the capital budget. Jim or Ray, who, oh, you got a, oh, Bob Vogel is on, excellent. So our engineer is on. I've set the table for him.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Bob. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Add anything that I did not cover and talk about the your recommended postponing, what projects you would postpone at this point so that we can take care of the commuter lots.
There we go. So, I have the funny background. How about that?
Yep.
So the two lots that are currently on the capital program include the Prospect Street lot and the Maple Ave lot. And what we'd like to do is add the Ambulance Corps lot and Kings Road lot 3 onto the capital program. Oh, terrific, Mike. If you go to the very top of that slide, it'll show you all 4 lots. Correct. So the lot that we'd really like to add at this point in time is the Kings Road lot number 3, which Mike is highlighting there. And it's a significant lot. We didn't have it on this year's capital program, but we were planning on milling it and overlaying it next year. With current stay-at-home order, with executive orders from Governor Murphy, there's no better time in the world to see if we can get that paved than this year. And we were looking at areas in the capital budget where we could swap out the cost of paving that Kings Road lot number 3 parking lot and that small little area around the Ambulance Corps. And we found that Woodland Road was the best option for us in terms of swapping some dollars out so that we can complete the downtown parking lots, all 4 of them that you see there in your slide at the same time. And I reached out to our mill and overlay contractor, Schifano. They're on board to get that done this month if we give them authorization. We don't really need a resolution or an extra ordinance at this stage of the game since we're moving projects in and moving projects out. And we may have some money left for a portion of Woodland Road before the end of the year. But I would like to get the invoices in for this phase of paving first, so we know exactly what we have in hand to see if we can get some paving of Woodland Road done this year. If not, it could be deferred, or we can go back and request some additional funds.
And so for the numbers, Woodland was budgeted at $175,000. The combined estimate for the Kings Road and ambulance is 110, correct?
That is correct. I actually 105, I think, for Kings Road lot number 3. And if you put the Ambulance Corps, Maple Ave, and Prospect Street together, those 3 lots are about $100,000. So 205 altogether, all in.
And so this gives us the capacity. Carmella.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Hey, Carmella.
I have a question. So this is just mill and overlay at this point. Do you see any other problems with drainage or anything else that would complicate any of that?
Amongst the lots, not really, Carmella. I mean, they've been there a long time. I would like to improve the drainage on Prospect Lot. There's just one corner there where the basin could be somewhat better. And I've asked Public Works to go out and take a look at that. And the Public Works may be able to help us with one of those aprons on the Prospect Street lot as well. But the other sections and the other lots, to me, the drainage does not seem too bad.
Okay.
And
And we
what,
could probably do Prospect in-house, you're saying, if not.
That's the hope, sure.
Get it done, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
and Bob just mentioned the apron. So right now, if you know how the entrance is on Prospect, you have two entrances right next to each other, which is not very safe. And so one would be to take out one of the entrances and do some minor restriping inside the area, picking up a handful of additional spaces and improving the flow.
That's correct, Mayor. I think we can get 9 or 10 spaces if we take a bit of circulation out where the aprons and the through aisles are, which may help the overall plan downtown in terms of access to parking.
Any other comments or questions? What I'll request right now, since this is just, it's a minor, you know, as Bob Vogel pointed out, we don't need to do an additional ordinance since this is just a shifting of priorities and paving, but so we have a record of shifting the priority from Woodland to the parking lots. Can I have a motion to shift priorities as presented?
I'll move it.
I have a second.
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Miss Bailey,
yes.
Miss Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
and Miss Ehrlich.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We now move on to ordinances for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The ordinances scheduled for hearing were introduced by title and passed on the first reading at the regular meeting of the council held March 30th, 2020. All were posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
I call ordinances for second reading and ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinance by title. Ordinance 10-2020.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $71,580.20 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund as matching funds for restoration work at the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts.
I open the hearing, so anyone in the public wishing to comment on ordinance 10, you may, if you're on the phone, you may hit *9 now, or if you're on computer, click the raise your hand. And this is just a comment on this ordinance 10. Anyone wishing to comment? And seeing none, we close the hearing.
Motion.
Mayor, I move ordinance 10-2020.
A second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Ehrlich.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 10-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 11-2020.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $12,040 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund as matching funds for architectural plans and specifications at the Madison Masonic Lodge.
I open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to comment, please, if you're on the phone, hit *9, or if you're on computer, raise your hand. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move,
I'm sorry, hold up. We do have,
Hi there, Mr. Mayor. This is Pat Rowe from Madison Avenue.
Yep.
First, I actually want to give a shout out to you guys. I know you've been talking about everybody else in town, but you've been doing a great job through this crisis. And I know it's not something most of you anticipated having to do when you joined the council, but I think you're doing a very good job. So thank you very much.
thank you.
Several questions tonight. I did email you guys my thoughts the last couple meetings, and I've appeared before you this year on the budget. So these questions are all revolving around the budget.
Okay,
the first is-
sorry, Pat.
Whoop.
We're on here, we're on the hearing for ordinance 11 right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. So we'll, your turn, we'll hold those,
I just
hold
heard
those
star
thoughts.
9.
Okay, so yep, hold those thoughts and we'll bring you back shortly. Unless you have anything on the open space funding for the Masonic Lodge architectural plans.
I do not, thank you.
All right. Any other in the public? Seeing none, can I close the hearing?
Mayor, I move ordinance 11-2020.
A second?
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
and Miss Ehrlich.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 11-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice there in the newspaper and file the ordinance accordance to the law. And now ordinance 12-2020.
Calendar year 2020 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
I open the hearing for ordinance 12-2020. Anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this ordinance, please, if you're on the phone, hit star 9, or if you're on a computer, hit the raise hand. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I'll move ordinance 12-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
and Miss Ehrlich.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 12-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. And now we're on to the second of invitation for discussion. And so anyone in the public wishing to comment on any topic may do so at this point by hitting star 9 or raising your hand on your computer. Once you're recognized, please state your name, your address, and I was about to say write it down, but you can do that at home if you want, but you don't need to do it now. And then we will try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we will stop you at 4 after a 1-minute warning. And I'm guessing we have at least one person. Welcome back, Pat.
Thank you. I still stand by my previous comments. You can just append this statement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just had some questions about some of the things that I've sent in to you guys, so maybe you can go through these and jot them down. The first is, will the borough be taking advantage of the extra time the state's allowing and delaying the final budget vote until June 8th? And if not, why not? I did note at the last meeting, the borough's auditor noted how important tracking cash flow is going to be this year. Allowing yourselves the opportunity to see how payments for the utilities for April and May come in, plus the second quarter property taxes, seems like it would give you the best information before you took a final vote on the budget. The second question is, I was happy to see the borough cut back by half the amount going into the reserve for the substation repairs, as I had recommended. Well, I recommended 100% cut. But at a time when residents need every dollar possible, why is the borough still funding the other half, plus adding a new yet to be defined reserve for a total of $350,000? I think that money could be better given out either as a dividend or in the adding to the toolkit. Same thing with the surplus, overall surplus in the electric utility. There's still, I think, over $3 million at the end of last year that isn't being utilized. And the ordinance that we passed back in 2016 said anytime there's anything above $1 million, it should be used for a rate cut or dividend. So again, why isn't the borough using more of those dollars to either cut the rate or adding to the toolkit? Fourth question, last year the borough had a surplus over $10 million at the end of the year, most of it coming from significant over budgeting of expenses. Given that, why did the borough choose to add over $200,000 to the departmental expense line rather than holding it flat and just cutting the property tax to zero? I felt there was plenty of money in the current borough budget to handle the other expenses you guys did talk about that you were setting money aside for. Fifth question, has the borough considered lowering or eliminating the open space tax for 2020? The trust currently has a grant that covers double the cost of this year's debt payment. So reducing that tax just this year could provide a rate cut as high as 4% to residents. And finally, will the borough publish a single sheet list of all the municipal and utility surpluses and reserve accounts? I did listen to the last meeting. I know there was a statement about a level of confusion in the community about how much a true surplus the borough has. I think it would be in everyone's interest if the borough did provide all those details and everyone could judge for themselves. And that's it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you for always keeping an eye on things. So at this point, and answering these questions, and as people, if you're tuned in for the first time, what we do is we capture the questions. We don't get into a back and forth. So we will cover these, and our CFO is also listening in, and we'll answer any of these. At this point, there are no plans to delay the budget as we look at the trend of things, while an extra couple of weeks may give us more trends that we would end up halfway through the year. And the feeling is right now we're in position to move forward with the hearing at our next meeting. And the reduction reserves for the substation, it was decided to cut that in half, but not in 100%. We continue to look at our surpluses, which there's guidelines that was put together by our strategic planning committee, and we've been at the higher end of those guidelines, and the steps we're taking now will bring us further still within the guidelines, but back towards the middle area. You mentioned the dividend and the toolkit. As I was working on the toolkit, I did have the possibility of increasing the dividend rate as a possible tool. And as we mentioned last meeting, we're bringing out the first round of tools, and we'll see how things progress and bring out further tools as they come necessary. Open space, besides the demand, two issues related to open space, besides the continued demands on the open space, except for at times when there's a reval. The council a few years ago, or actually 7 years ago, was able to do a change in the open space rate because the reval would have doubled the open space tax. And so the council can only do it. This is based on maintaining the intention of the original referendum. To eliminate or adjust the amount of open space has to be done by referendum, which would be on the ballot in November. And then the reserve accounts, and our CFO has gotten a request, and we'll see what information, I think we set the tone for transparency and information through all our information we put on the website, and we'll continue to put out as much information so the residents know what is going on. Jim, do you have anything to add to any of my comments there?
Mayor, I just want to add that reducing the open space tax to zero would not be something that I could support as a chief financial officer, because we pay over $300,000 in debt for the turf field complex and for the MRC property out of that fund. So we need to have that tax there to be able to pay that. That represents almost half of the total amount coming in. And then slides 16 and 17 in the presentation that were given at the previous meeting, I think do a good job representing the surplus position that the council could be in. And so I don't think that I don't think it's appropriate to add reserves or other items into those, because the reserves are set for specific items. We talked about the example reserve for tax appeals being something that we would not add on there. We know there's going to be a significant number of tax appeals coming up where we're seeing it. The governor extended the ability for people to put in for a tax appeal. So we're seeing a number of additional tax appeals coming in this year. And finally, the increase in department appropriations. Department appropriations were flat in terms of the budget. They were increasing in terms of reality. So we trimmed some of the little bits of excess here and there in our bid to reduce surplus, which we were talking about before the pandemic started. The $200,000 increase in department operating expenses is due 100% to the $200,000 that was increased in the OEM line to give council flexibility and to give administration flexibility in case we need to make additional purchases due to the pandemic. Example, Mike Fitzpatrick of our health department was able to obtain N95 masks at an inexpensive price. We may be making a purchase as soon as tomorrow of those masks of $8,000. Having that budget line and that flexibility there is required given the global health crisis that we're in.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Is there anyone else in the public wishing to comment? Okay, seeing none, we close this part of the meeting and move on to introductory ordinance. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinance scheduled for first reading has a hearing date set for April the 27th, 2020. Will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
In case people didn't catch all that, the hearing date for all these ordinances is April 27th. I call up ordinance 13, 2020 for first reading. I ask the borough clerk to read said ordinance by title.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $675,000 from the water utility capital improvement fund for main valve and hydrant replacement.
Mayor, I move ordinance 13-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes. And I have a tip for you, Liz. If you turn off your video, it may increase your bandwidth for your audio, which we're having a little hard time hearing the audio.
I
Which is getting.
apologize. I didn't know you were having a problem. Okay, much better.
Thank you.
So
Here comes the test. We move on to the next item on the agenda, which is consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I
Yep.
move consent agenda R 113-2020 to R 120-2020 and Resolution 123-2020 and Resolution 124-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion or any ordinances that need to, or maybe resolutions that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
yes.
All right, there is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the voucher registry?
I don't have a voucher registry.
Ah!
I don't know if Mr. Cody or Mr. Burnett have it. They could read the numbers.
I have it right here, Liz.
Thank you.
Excuse, you can probably hear the Hartley Dodge bell ring there. Current fund, 177,155.81. General capital fund, 7,455.80. Electric operating fund, 67,503.68. Electric capital fund, 1,741.87. Water operating fund, 2,664.36. Nothing in the water capital fund, and the trust funds, total of 10,633.35. Total voucher register of 267,154.87.
Do I have a motion for the voucher
Yeah,
registry?
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
All right, under new business, I'd like to announce the following appointment not needing council confirmation. This is a mayor direct appointment to the Environmental Commission for unexpired term, 3-year term through December 31st, 2020, Bridget Daly of Keep Street. And with that, we are on to motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all and be well.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
All.
Thank you.